What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the undefeated post-weigh-in show for UFC Vegas 58. We're taking one final look at these fighters as they step on the scales this morning and they weigh in. We're looking for any chink in the armor, any little weakness, so we can take advantage of it and put some more money in your pocket. Let's go over this card. First and foremost, we got to thank the sponsors. This is brought to you by Pub Sports Radio, and of course, lines are presented to you by Superbook Sports. The very first fight on the card, Said Yukub Kakramanov taking on Ronnie Lawrence. Said Yukub made 136, Lawrence made 135.5. Said looked easy, good solid flex on the scales, no issues for him whatsoever. Ronnie Lawrence, very relaxed, looked good himself. There's a slight height advantage here for Ronnie Lawrence. Said looked intense up there, though. I love the intensity that this guy brings to the table. Looking at this line, it's kind of ping-pong back and forth all week. This is maybe the Twitter civil war fight of the card. Ronnie Lawrence is sitting a minus 125 favorite. I think he was up to minus 140 at some point, plus 105 the comeback on Said Yukub. This is a spot that I have gone back and forth all week. I can't make my mind up. I kind of edge Ronnie Lawrence. I think that the chain wrestling, the grappling that he brings to the table is going to get it done. However, we've seen him slow down in that third round against Mana Martinez. He got clipped and rocked and wobbled a couple times. And, Mana's not a submission guy. He's a KO guy. If that's the case, we've seen Said kind of weather the early storm of his opponents before and then take them out late in the fights. He's got that tight squeeze. We know Ronnie Lawrence is going to shoot for takedowns. That's going to have him sticking his neck out. Like I said, I keep going back and forth. I can see Ronnie Lawrence winning until he isn't winning, and that's why I've kind of stayed off this fight from a betting perspective. I want to see more of Said. I want to see more of his striking and what he brings to the table. I know he can finish this fight, but I don't know how he's going to win minutes in this fight, I guess is the better way to say that. So ever so slightly into Ronnie Lawrence, but I got to be honest, guys, I'm getting to the point where I'm tempted on Said Yukub Kakramanov. Very, very tempted there. Maybe a round 3 shot, because we did see Ronnie Lawrence start to slow down in that third round last time. If Said does very similarly to what he does with Trevin Jones, hanging in the fight, making him work, defending the takedowns, trying to force the exchanges, and Ronnie Lawrence starts to fade in that third round, we could be looking at another round 3 sprinkle spot on the underdog here. We'll see what I end up doing. At this point, no bet. Carl Roberson taking on Kennedy Nzechukwu. Kennedy came in at 205 on the dot. Carl Roberson came in light, 202.5. Kennedy is just huge, folks. He's absolutely massive. Look good. No concerns. Carl Roberson, he looked fantastic. If I'm being honest, I got to give credit where it's due. Carl Roberson looked like he took this fight extremely seriously. He is more chiseled than we've seen him, I think, ever. And I think that also speaks to him coming in 3 pounds under the weight limit. He's in crazy good shape. He's too small at 205. This guy needs to really be fighting at 185. But damn, if he comes in that light, potentially got a speed advantage, in crazy good shape, motivated, you never know what a fighter can do when they come in that way. Kennedy is currently a minus 135 favorite, plus 115 on Carl Roberson. I completely agree with that assessment. The over 1.5 minus 200, that makes sense to me also. I think Kennedy is going to look to slow the pace down, keep the range, drag this fight deep, and I do lean towards Kennedy by decision, using that physicality, using that reach advantage. But dang, if Carl Roberson can't get in close on this guy and make this thing interesting, I just don't want to trust either of these guys at this point. I do lean Kennedy. This could look like a short price in hindsight, but Carl Roberson also could get in tight, land a big hook, and put him down and make this thing look like he should have been the favorite in hindsight. So I'm staying completely away, both very untrustworthy. This is one of those cards, everybody, where seriously, you don't have to risk a lot. If you like a spot, go ahead and attack it. There's another card next week. Let's save some units for right around the corner when there's a chance for us to make better money, because these fighters are really just not trustworthy on this card. Next up, Garrett Armfield filling in short notice, taking on David Onama. Garrett made 145, Onama 145.5. No issues for Garrett whatsoever. Good solid flex. Kid's got nice hair, looking relaxed on the scales. I'm excited to see what he can do in the UFC, but he is coming up a weight class. He usually fights at 135. Even though these guys fought on the regional scene together, Onama is the much bigger man. He fights at 145 naturally, whereas Garrett needs to drop down. Onama, stone cold up there on the scales. I mean, there was a lot of blinking, which is a little bit of a concern. Sensitivity to light can sometimes be a sign of a bad cut, dehydration, things like that. So that was a little bit of something that I was concerned with, but damn, is he in good shape. Kid is absolutely shredded. And then when they face off, obviously, size advantage. Pardon me. Size advantage goes to David Onama. This was an intense stare down. Like I said, they've met before, so this should be fun. What I'm looking at is kind of fading the market here. The over 1.5 at -135, I think makes some sense. David Onama probably has the ability to KO this kid. We've seen what he's done recently to some high caliber UFC level opponents. And if he takes this one like I'm going to squash this bug, maybe it's a round 1 KO spot. But again, Garnett has 15 minutes with this guy. Like, they've already fought before. I know there's going to be improvements. There's going to be game tweaks. There's going to be adjustments. But the fact that he knows he's gone 15 minutes with him before leads me to believe that he probably is fully aware that he can do it again. And if he plays the same kind of fight, then this thing probably gets extended. I kind of like the over 1.5 look here in this spot. Again, not something that I've bet. It's hard to get behind -850 on David Onama, even though, again, I do think he wins. It's just a crazy number. Tresean Gore taking on Cody Brundage. Both guys came in 185. Jeez, hiccups. Sorry, 185.5. Cody Brundage got up on scale today. Big, heavy, deep breaths, like woo-sawing to himself up on the scale. He looks like he's in great shape. I don't know if this is just a case of nerves or what he had going on there, but a little interesting. Tresean Gore, he's amped up. He was, pounding his chest, putting his finger up, like he is ready to rock here in this fight. Slight size advantage, too. Cody Brundage when they face off. Tresean Gore came in hot, kind of talking to him. Brundage hit him with the... trying to like shush him up, and I gotta tell you guys, that's one of those, that was the moment that he knew he fucked up type of things in hindsight for me here. He kind of poked the bear. Gore got really upset at that, and Brundage is not like the mind games guy, so I don't think we're talking Conor McGregor. He's getting under his opponent's skin. Gore is a young, fired up, explosive fighter, and if you give him that extra motivation, I don't think that's going to work as well for you as you'd like to think that it will. So I know this is, maybe the runner-up for the Twitter Civil War fight of the card, but I really believe in Tresean Gore here. I got 4.4 units at -110. I do think he's going to be able to win these striking exchanges. I don't think much of Cody Brundage's striking in general. I think he's going to have to grapple, and I think Tresean Gore is a solid enough grappler. He's strong enough, he's explosive enough, he'll defend those takedowns, keep this thing standing, and then when they are standing, he'll be the one landing the bigger, more powerful shots. So fully capable of winning a decision. I do think he will clip and KO him at some point in this fight, but I think he's got multiple paths to victory, which is why I went to the money line. Gore is -135 at this point, so I beat a nice little line move there. Gotta love when that happens, but again, can't be super confident because a lot of smart people I know are on the other side. This is a very, very competitive fight. Can't wait to see it play out. We'll see what happens here. Next up, we have got Courtney Casey taking on Antonina Shevchenko. Casey came in at 126, Antonina 124.5. Casey, quite frankly, looked rough. She did need the box of shame when she got up there. Her face was all sucked out. Tough cut for her this morning. Antonina Shevchenko, no issues. Confident smirk up there on the scale. She looked healthy and good to go. Slight size advantage for Antonina Shevchenko. This was a respectful face-off. Antonina's -170. Courtney Casey's +150. I like the favorite here. I'm actually tempted to lay the chalk on Antonina, as crazy as that sounds. Courtney Casey is not as good of a striker as Antonina is, and then what we've seen from Shevchenko is the only way you can really take advantage of her is taking her down and smothering her. That's not what Courtney does. Courtney Casey's shot like 3 takedowns lifetime, I think, in the UFC, 3 or 4, something like that. She just doesn't shoot. So, if you came to me and said, you know what, she's been working her wrestling this whole entire camp, she's going to wrestle, then maybe Courtney Casey as the dog is the play. But if she's not coming with that game plan, I don't know how she wins this thing. Antonina is the better striker. She's been working on her grappling. She's good in scrambles. Courtney Casey's been tapped a couple times. I think there's a chance Shevchenko, if this thing hits the mat, can finish her by submission. If it's on the feet, we're going to get a 15-minute kickboxing match. Either way, not overly enticed to play this fight. Definitely lean to the favorite. Nothing at the weigh-ins showed me anything differently. The box of shame, a little bit of a rough weight cut. That just adds a little sprinkle on the I think Shevchenko is going to win. It's nothing that's going to steer me that direction hard. It wasn't that bad of a cut, but every little bit helps. If I'm playing it, I'm laying it. Ricky Tercios taking on Amin Zahabi. Both guys made 135.5. Ricky Tercios came in rocking the sunglasses. It's like Tony Ferguson. He gets a pass. Everybody knows I hate the sunglasses because you can't see the cracked out eyes. You can't see how sucked out their face is. It really is kind of their Superman mask, making it so I don't really know what's going on with you on the scales. But when you get guys like Tercios and guys like Tony Ferguson, They do this stuff and they're just goofballs and they gotta rock their sunglasses, and I understand that. So because of that, I'll go ahead and give him a pass. He looked good, no real issues on the scales besides the sunglasses. Eamon Zahabi, he looked good, tried to flex, before they called the weight, had to get calmed down and call it again. That was always entertaining. These guys size up really well. It was all love. They hugged it out before the face-off. This should be a fun fight. Ricky Tercios minus 185 favorite, comeback on Zahabi plus 165. And I think that if Zahabi wrestles, he actually has a path to victory in this fight. Tercios has been clipped and knocked before. Eamon Zahabi does have big power in his right hand, but that low volume style tends to not be something that wins you much unless you're actually landing that KO shot. I don't know that he's going to land that magic shot on Saturday. If he comes out and decides to wrestle, Tercios does take the bottom position and has a hard time with the counter grappling. So I think there's a path to Eamon Zahabi winning. However, I tend to think that just the overwhelming volume of Tercios probably ends up getting it done. But at minus 185, I don't want to lay that to find out. Another complete pass for me, because neither guy, we really don't know where they're at or what their game plan. Well, we know what Tercios' game plan is going to be. No idea what Zahabi's bringing to the table for this one, so pass is the right answer for me. Michael Johnson taking on Jamie Mullarkey. Both men weighed in at 155.5. Michael Johnson looked relieved on the scales, gave like a little half-hearted flex. I don't know if he was trying to like hit 155 on the dot for championship weight or something, but it was a weird reaction from him today. Jamie Mullarkey was all business, looked intense up there. He's got that caveman forehead, a very angry scowl on his face, almost like a Diaz brother all the time. They showed his weigh-ins, or not the weigh-ins, the preview that they always do with like the green screen and stuff like that. And man, he was moving like molasses. Like there's no side-to-side movement. His arms are not doing much. Like he's just kind of doing this thing side-to-side with his hands. Like very awkward. And he was wearing his shorts backwards, which we all know is a fade. So like that's concerning if you're on the Jamie Mullarkey side. I have said that I think Mullarkey wins this fight, basically runaway freight train, probably beats Michael Johnson up in the first, maybe drags him to the floor and submits him in the second, something along those lines. He might be fully capable of just kind of pounding him out in round one. By the same token, Mullarkey doesn't look right. He is coming off a bad knockout loss 4 months ago, and he's taken on a round one power puncher. Michael Johnson could starch this guy in the first round, no problem. It absolutely could have. I'm on the under 2.5. I got minus 135 much earlier in the week. It is minus 170 now. I don't think this fight goes the distance, quite frankly. I don't see how it does, because I don't think Michael Johnson can keep pace with Jamie Mullarkey. So it's either Michael Johnson cracking him early or Jamie Mullarkey taking over. And if Jamie Mullarkey is taken over, I don't think Johnson survives rounds 2 and 3. That's all it comes down to for me. So either way, I think we're getting a round 1 finish, maybe the beginning of round 2 if Johnson manages to survive that early flurry. But I think we see violence in that fight. I like it a lot. Cynthia Calvillo taking on Nina Nunes. Cynthia came in at 126. Nina Nunes came in 125.5. Cynthia Calvillo was the last one to the scale today, and boy, I have thoughts on this fight. I was hoping, we've seen her look awful on the scales and botch a weight cut before. I was so hoping when I saw that she was the last one to weigh in, that she was going to miss, that she was going to come in unmotivated and 5 pounds over, and I was going to just pull out the absolute hammer on Nina Nunes and be like, she quit her last fight, now she's coming in heavy, she's got 1 foot in the grave. That's not what happened. Cynthia Calvillo actually made weight, and she looked great doing it. Big, happy smile. She looks like she might have added a little bit of muscle to her frame. Like, she looked fantastic on the scales, even though she was the last one to get in there. So, a little disappointing for me. Nina Nunes, no issues whatsoever. She's making her first jump up to a new weight class. The 10 extra pounds look good on her. She looks very filled out, very happy. No issues making the weight. This was a respectful face-off. Nina Nunes, slightly the bigger fighter, which is nice if you're going dog hunting here in this spot. Nina Nunes is a plus 130 underdog. Cynthia Calvillo is a minus 150 favorite. And I've been just dagger staring at Nina Nunes basically all week. I'm staring at that number and I'm going, I should bet Nina. I really should bet Nina. I want to bet Nina. And something's stopping me. Something's holding me back. I finally caught her interview. And when she did the interview, they were asking about what's next. She's talking about 1 or 2 UFC fights, maybe transitioning to coaching. She wants to travel the world with her wife and her daughter. Like, everything she's talking about has nothing to do with fighting. And I also have concerns that the fight game may have passed her by. I mean, you look at Nina Nunes, she was ranked, previously when she was on her run before she took the break to have the baby. She was ranked. But at that time, there was a very different landscape in this division. Nina Nunes has wins over Her most recent win, Claudia Gadelha, who's currently retired, Randa Marcos, who's been cut from the UFC after going 500 for God knows how many fights and on like a 4-fight losing streak, Angela Hill, and then before that it was Jocelyn Jones-Lindbarger. She lost to Justine Kish before that. I mean, these are going back to 2016, 2017, but if that tells you anything, there's a new order in the women's division these days. Being semi-competitive with Randa Marcos and 2017 Angela Hill and losing to Justine Kish, that's not going to cut it today, folks. And I am getting massive Donald Cerrone vibes here. I put a big bet on Donald Cerrone last week because I was confident that he still was in the game, that he wanted to set some records, that he wanted to push that bar a little further. Come to find out, everybody else was right, and he was done, and he had one foot in the grave. He hung it up after that fight. He didn't want it anymore, and he wasn't taking it seriously. I don't know if Nina Nunes wants it anymore. I don't know if Nina Nunes is taking it seriously. I have my massive doubts about Cynthia Calvillo because of the way that she has been her last couple fights, because of quitting on the stool against Andrea KGB Lee, because she got starched by Jessica Andrade. You're wondering where the drive and the dedication is. And again, I was hoping for a sign on the scales today that I could fade her, but the fact is, the message that I got is that I should be fading Nina Nunes. I cannot put my money on the underdog here in this spot. Yes, she's got the size advantage here. They're both former 115ers moving up to 155, and I do think that extra size and power probably encourages Nina Nunes. But the last time we saw her, even though she's had some decent takedown defense against, again, that less than sparkling resume, the last time we saw her was Tatiana Suarez just absolutely mauling her on the ground, and then Mackenzie Dern taking her down and snapping her arm off in round one. I know she had rust. She's coming off of some injury concerns. She took a year delay because as she tried to make the cut down to 115, she started having health issues, and that's why she made the move to 125. So she feels good. She feels healthy. That's all the things that she's telling us. But at the same time, there's been a blueprint established. And if Cynthia Calvillo comes correct in this fight, this is probably a bounce back buy low spot for her, and I can't put my money on Nina Nunes because of the things that she's mentioning in her interviews, because of where her mindset is at. If she wants to travel, if she wants to go baby mama, if she wants to live that life, there's no fighting involved in that. And if that's her next step, if she's only thinking 1 or 2 fights ahead, then this one could be the last one. If she's like Donald Cerrone and has a bad performance tonight, she might hang up those gloves. So I'm out. I'm done. I'm not doing Nina Nunes. If anything, it's Cynthia Calvillo, and that terrifies me. That terrifies me because of how Cynthia has looked recently. But you guys know one of my absolute favorite things to do in the MMA game is snipe up those buy low spots. And what we have is a Cynthia Calvillo who's lost to Caitlin Chookagian, who we know nobody beats the Chook. She got hammered by Jessica Andrade in round 1, which there is no shame in that. Who doesn't do that? And then she got beaten by Andrea KGB Lee, who is on the run of her lifetime and looking like she's headed for a potential title shot. So she's losing to some of the top fighters in this weight class. And there's nothing wrong with that. When you get a step down, when you get a layup against somebody who's been passed up by the game, somebody who's older, somebody who's been retired, somebody who's got one foot in the grave, that's usually when you show up and shine. If Cynthia Calvillo comes out with her wrestling singlet on for this fight, I do think she probably very comfortably wins. So neither of these women, in my opinion, are trustworthy, and I've gone from dog or pass to favorite or pass. Again, I don't know that I'm betting it, but that's the full read, full transition to Monday to Friday. That interview changed a lot for my mindset, and I'm probably just going to let this one pass me by. I don't have too much interest in throwing another blind dart at potentially retiring fighters. The next fight on the card is another extremely interesting one for me. We've got Chase Sherman taking on Jared Vanderaa. Chase Sherman came in at 253, Vanderaa 263.5. We've got Chase Sherman with the arms behind his back going full Masvidal style. He looked like he was in great shape for this one, actually. He looked a little flabby his last time out. He looks fantastic coming into this one. Vanderaa, he also looked like he might be a little bit better. I listened to some of his interviews, and he talked about wanting to be a professional athlete and putting work and time in on his physique so he didn't look so sloppy out there and things like that. So if he's taking his training more seriously to cut down on some of that fat and actually get some muscle on him, that could be a good thing for him moving forward. However, I don't know if it'll be a quickly affecting thing that actually has anything to do with this particular fight. But it looks like he's in slightly better shape. And honestly, I think Jared Vanderaa is a fan of Sean Strickland. You listen to his interviews this week, and holy crap, like, the guy's talking about wanting to know what it feels like to snap somebody else's shin in half with a leg kick. And I'm like, that's not usually how Jared Vanderaa talks. And I mean, don't get me wrong. All of these mixed martial artists, they're all psychos, right? Like every single one of these fighters has a little screw loose. Otherwise, you wouldn't be trying to support your family by fighting in a cage. You'd be doing something else. So those types of thoughts are not anything new to the MMA scene. But the way he's been talking basically all week, talking about he thinks that Chase Sherman is going to be the one that pushes the grappling. He wants to go out there and push a pace and strike with this guy. He's going to knock him out in the second round. He wants to know what it feels like to calf kick somebody and snap their shin in half. Guys, he just went out and grappled with Alexei Olenek, which was the wrong answer. And now he's turning around to fight Chase Sherman, and grappling is the answer, and he's talking about kickboxing with the guy. I don't like hearing that. As a guy who said it's favorite or pass in this spot, I think I've been saying all week that Jared Vanderaa is going to take this thing to the ground, tire Chase Sherman out, drag him to the mat, tap him in round 2. His mindset is freaking concerning here. There's a couple things we try not to bet on, and bad game plans, low fight IQ, that's one of the things we try to avoid. And that's what I'm getting here. Massive low IQ vibes from Jared Vanderaa. Chase Sherman, on the other hand, he's working at Sanford MMA. He looks like he is in shape. I went and I ran the tape back against, Parker Porter and things like that. And even though Chase Sherman was getting beaten that fight, he was rolling well with punches. He busted up Parker Porter's face. You look at Jared Vandera's last couple fights, he can't quite find the target. He's so big and lumbering and slow. And then he throws this lazy body kick that does no damage whatsoever. And I'm like, bro, if Jared Vanderaa is not grappling, Chase Sherman's going to win this striking match. Because even though Vanderaa is known for his volume, Chase Sherman actually has decent hand movement, decent striking, a good jab. He's going to frustrate Jared Vanderaa on the feet. And you look at the stats, Vanderaa has a 100% takedown rating. That's not accurate. He's body locked up his last couple fights with guys trying to get them to the mat. He just doesn't wrestle. He doesn't have any takedowns. He relies on body lock trips and stuff like that to get people down. You look at Chase Sherman, he's been taken down in a bunch of fights recently. But run back the tape though. Chase Sherman's had kicks caught. The real reason he's been on the mat with a lot of these fighters is because he throws a lazy kick, it gets caught, and he gets taken down. Vandera's not doing that shit. So, guys, I'm somehow managing to talk myself into a bet here on Chase Sherman. I was in love with the idea of a motivated Jared Vanderaa that was willing to come out and grapple. Now, hearing the fact that he wants to stand and bang with Chase Sherman, it's Sean Strickland all over again. If that man goes for the takedown, he stands a chance in that fight. If he doesn't go for the takedown, he's smoked on the feet. I feel the same way here about Vanderaa. Now, this could all be smoke and mirrors. This could all be just the fighter talking to amp his opponent up and then change levels. I don't know that Jared Vanderaa is that high of a thinker personally. No offense to the man. I love the guy. I've bet on him a couple of times, unfortunately. He's got the tools to win this. But if he doesn't use those tools, he's going to lose to Chase Sherman. So I've gone from thinking maybe we lay it with Jared Vanderaa to thinking maybe we take a stab with the underdog. Maybe you look at Chase Sherman by knockout, plus 330, plus 350 on that bad boy. Not a bad look if you think this is going to be a striking match, because if it's all on the feet, I think Chase Sherman actually has the advantage. Next fight up, Said Nurmagomedov taking on Douglas Silva de Andrade. Said 135.5, Douglas Silva 135.5 as well. Said is pasty white up there, folks. Soulless eyes and looked exhausted on the scales today. He's a big dude for the weight class. This is a tough cut for him. Douglas de Silva has the best cheekbones in the business. His face is sucked out as all hell. I have no idea how he makes this weight class with how thick he is. One of these ageless Brazilian wonders we look at. Nurmagomedov obviously much taller when they face off here. This is another one where I've been really struggling. I mean, Said Nurmagomedov should win this fight. It's hard to go against Douglas de Silva after what we've seen from him. The dude's a junkyard dog. He stays in every fight. You got to kill him to get him out of there. I've heard some hot takes on this fight being an easy finish for Said and stuff like that. I don't know that I see it. I kind of feel like this is going to be your ranged kickboxing extraordinaire unless Douglas de Silva changes levels and sticks his head in a guillotine or something like that. I think Said's going to be content to kickbox from the outside. I kind of like Said by decision, the over 2.5 plus 110. Those are the spots that I'm looking. But again, I've got zero confidence here, guys. This is one of those ones that could go either way. Some of the numbers support the unders. This is just my guesstimate of how this fight is going to play out. It's another one that I'm going to leave alone because I don't have a great read on it. I expect Said probably to get his hand raised one way or the other, so if you want to go the parlay piece route, maybe the best way to do it, cut down on that variance. Caio Borralho taking on Armen Petrosyan, 185.5 for both men. Caio all smiles on the scale today. Gave a salute. Dude's looking confident. Armen Petrosyan, confident smirk himself. And he, you know what? He was looking a little bit tired up there, if we're being honest, but he looks like he's in great shape as well. Who isn't tired on weigh-in day? It wasn't a bad one. We're good. Now, these guys size up extremely well. We're talking like maybe a half or a quarter inch difference in height, which is hilarious because the UFC has Caio Borralho listed at 5'10". It's a Jairzinho Rozenstruik situation. He is not 5'10". The man is 6'2". They've got Armen Petrosyan listed at 6'3". Maybe he is 6'3", but it looks like he's about 6'2". So these guys are like nose to nose, even though the stats say there's like 4 or 5 inches between them. It's ridiculous. We've currently got Armen Petrosyan plus 200. Caio Borralho is minus 240. I talked about this one earlier in the week, and this is one of the only fights that my opinion has not changed on. If it tells you how sketchy of a card it is that I can sway this hard on so many fights on this one damn card. Caio Borralho, I think, is the deserving favorite here, and I cashed a ticket with Armen Petrosyan against RoboCop Rodriguez. Armen Petrosyan gets taken down, his get-up game is fantastic, and then he gets in people's faces, and he's a great kickboxer. He's got big power in his hands, he closes the range well, body kick, likes to attack the legs. It's all good stuff. I love everything from this guy. He's a junkyard dog. But Caio Borralho with that karate stance, he controls that range really well. He's got good kicks of his own. Sniper from outside with his hands. Excellent hands from range. And his grappling is solid. Good takedowns, high-level BJJ. He's got that body pack. He body triangles people to grind out the clock and hunt for the chokes. I kind of like the over 1.5 here. I'm pissed off I didn't play it. It was minus 155 when I talked about it on the total takedown. It's minus 165 now. So the money is coming in on that over 1.5. I actually still think it's playable at this number. I don't think this is going to be a quick finish. I think these guys will respect each other's power and skills on the feet, and they'll take a little bit of time to get going here. Maybe this fight ramps up in the second round. And like I said, if Caio Borralho decides to wrestle, I do think he can control Armen Petrosyan on the ground where other fighters have failed because of the jiu-jitsu, because of the body lock, because of the back takes. Most of these wrestlers go in for the legs. You're not getting Armen down going for the legs. You're not holding Armen down if you're going for the legs. He is too good at getting back to his feet. I think this is going to be a technical, restrained violence type of kickboxing match for 15 minutes. I do think it will be close and likely competitive, but I think Caio Borralho will probably get the best of the moments, probably have the more defensive capabilities. But Armen is my guy. I don't want to doubt him. Like I said, I cashed a good ticket with him last time out. I think the world of him. He's got a great skill set. He's only going to be getting better. So the last thing I want to do is lay minus 240 against a guy who I'm rooting for, cheering for, and who I think is going nothing but up, even if he were to lose this fight. So if I'm going to bet it, I'm going over 1.5 at minus 165. I don't blame anybody taking the dog shot on Armen Petrosyan. He's exactly the kind of good soldier you want to back as a dog because he will fight for your money. I'm just not going there this week. Main event time, Rafael Dos Anjos taking on Rafael Fiziev. I always do the Rafael for both guys by accident. Rafael Dos Anjos, 156. Rafael Fiziev, 155 on the dot. These guys both look fantastic. I mean, Rafael Dos Anjos was stoic on the scales today. His abs are unreal. It looks like a package of bread rolls. Like, those things are massive. Rafael Fiziev went full curly-headed fuck today. Like, he let the hair go. Looks like a hippie up there. You gotta love it. Dude is jacked. They face off. Slight size advantage for RDA. This was a good face off. Minus 200 for Rafael Fiziev, plus 175 for Rafael Dos Anjos. I know some people taking the dog shot. I talked about how I think in the later rounds, Rafael can make this interesting with the grappling. I do think Rafael Fiziev gets his hand raised at the end. Nothing on the scales was a surprise today. I have no report for you based on what these guys did today. We knew RDA was going to be a little bigger. We knew that. And he looked like he weighed in just fine, so no concerns for like gas tank or anything like that. But Rafael is getting older, and Fiziev is a monster in his own right. This is a very interesting stylistic matchup and not one that I want to have a lot of exposure to. I kind of want to take notes and learn. And if we see Fiziev fading in this fight, jump in live after round 1 or 2 on Rafael Dos Anjos because we know he's got the gas tank and the grappling to kind of take the fight over a little bit later. That's maybe my plan. Watch and learn. Expect Fiziev to win. If we see the tides shifting, jump in on Dos Anjos late at a better number. The total at 4.5, over 4.5 is minus 140. That's been moving, creeping up steadily. I think this one goes all 5 rounds. I've said that all week. I know some very smart people who I respect who are on Rafael Fiziev by knockout. It could happen. Don't get me wrong. Rafael Dos Anjos is getting older. He's having a tough time cutting to 155 the longer this goes on. Reminds me of Cerrone. So one of these days, the durability is going to drop off a cliff. I just don't know if he's there quite yet. We haven't seen any evidence of it, so I have no reason to believe that's going to be the case. But Fiziev is going to be the kind of guy that would pull it off if someone was going to finally put a chip in that armor. So I'm thinking Fiziev, I'm thinking the over, maybe a live bet on Dos Anjos if we see something differently on fight night. That is the Undefeated post weigh-in show, folks. I literally only have 2 bets on this card right now. I've got gore and I've got violence on the under 2.5 for the Mullarkey and Johnson fight. I am tempted to bet Cynthia Calvillo at this point, believe it or not, as bad as that hurts. I am tempted to bet Chase Sherman by knockout. That's kind of where I'm looking. I do think that Saeed Yacoub, again, that round 3 sprinkle. Here's the thing. If I do the round 3 sprinkle, I'm probably going to put at least 1 unit on the money line because, God forbid, if the guy were to win but not do it in the 3rd round and I just throw away a quarter unit or something like that, I hate doing that. I hate that. So I'll probably bet a unit on Saeed Yacoub if I do decide to do the round 3 sprinkle, so I save myself the pain of calling the upset and having it happen in the 2nd round or something like that. Lean to Kennedy in Chukwu, but again, yeah, just questionable right now. Ooh, that one just moved. He's minus 145 now at Superbook Sports, so money just came in on Kennedy and Chukwu as we're doing the show live. Good luck tomorrow, everybody. You can find me online at Die Hard MMA Pod. Let me know what your favorite bet for this week is. Good luck on all your degenerate action, and let's freaking roll. We want to make some money this week. Let's go.